Welcome to the Chip and Cern Show, the podcast about everything and nothing at the same time. They were possibly separated at birth, only to be rejoined to create the sweet sounds that will caress your deepest cochlea. The show is real, random, rant-filled, and ruthless. Please be warned that the show may hurt your feelings, offend your grandma, and even kick your dead dog in the balls. So get ready, and let's get this shit started.
This shit has started. I'm Chip.
I'm Cern.
And you are listening to the Chip and Cern Show. Welcome, folks, to another episode.
Yes.
We are here, and we are going to discuss one of the hottest shows going on right now.
Yes.
Stranger Things on Netflix exclusively.
Exclusively
on Netflix.
Yes.
So if you haven't watched this, it's a 8-chapter
Yes.
/ episode
Says yes.
Season.
About an hour an episode, I believe.
Yeah. And
5 minutes an hour.
because there's no commercials on Netflix, it's like one episode could be 45 minutes, one could be an hour and 6.
Yes.
It's somewhere set aside, carve out an hour for yourself
Yes.
and set it
I
aside.
agree.
Now, there's nothing more than Cern and I like. Nothing more
Nothing more Chip and Cern's like.
than beer.
Oh.
And good TV.
Yes.
We are drinking from Russian River Brewery, just up north from my new residence, is the Blind Pig
Okay.
Russian River Brewery. This is a single IPA,
I do like it.
and they're most well known for their Pliny the Elder, which is their double IPA, like award-winning
Yeah.
thing. So I, this earlier today, went up, did a little wine tasting, brought my growlers back by, and I filled them up because you get the big glass growler.
Oh.
You buy it or you lease it for like $5, and then it's just $15 to fill it up, and it's 4 beers. So it's a good deal.
That's a deal. That is a deal.
And what do you like? It's got a good floral.
It's got a good scent. It's not too heavy.
No,
got a
but
good
it's.
taste.
I want to say it's 6.5 to 7%. So a couple of these in
It's got. I mean, yeah.
Nap time.
It's got some balls. It's got some balls to it. But
nap time, but it's not the double IPA where it will they'll knock you out if you're not careful.
the double IPA, I find, is good.
Mm-hmm.
I do like it, but I want to say it's
It's
a
a bit
starter.
aggressive.
It's an aggressive.
Yeah.
It's a party beer, and it's a starter beer. You don't want to end the night with a double IPA. You want to start your drinking with a double IPA.
Amen.
Rookies.
And IPA is something in general that you too many of them, and I do get a buzz. I get it's like I ate too much food. Like my stomach
Yeah.
is getting too expanded.
Now, I don't know about you, but we're talking about Stranger
We're
Things,
already-
but we're
yeah.
talking about beer. I find with IPAs that sometimes you get like the mid-drinking hangover headache.
Oh, interesting.
You start to get the headache where where you're drinking them, and it's at a low point where you start to slow down because you feel like, ooh,
Yeah,
this
I'm
night
getting a
could
little
go.
full.
This
Yeah.
this night could go south if I keep going, and so I'll slow it down, and and then a little bit later I'm starting to get a little bit of headache.
I wonder if they put a lot of sugar in it, maybe?
Maybe.
Oh, because, hold on. When you make beer, you put the sugar in to ferment it.
Yes, I think
So maybe they have to... anyway, because we brewed our beer once upon a time.
we did.
I think there's some of that around somewhere. I don't know who has a couple bottles, but...
Chip and Cern beer. That's
yeah,
right, back
Chip
in
and
the day.
Cern brew.
That's
a vintage of 2009
Nine?
probably
Yeah.
right now.
Oh, that would be a
Oof, that could be like a fine soft cab. It's just aged beautifully, or it could be flat and taste like an old fucking shoe.
Yeah. The hobo special.
Yeah. So we're talking Stranger Things today. So as with our past film, TV reviews, like Making a Murderer
Star
with the Rod
Wars,
4, Star Wars, we'll give you a tidbit of a non-spoiler. So we are assuming that if you're listening to this, you have seen at least one episode, the first
and you
chapter.
know of it. If
You know
haven't,
of it.
We'll give you a recap.
Yes. And then we'll give you a break.
Yes.
We'll tell you, hey, everything from here forward. Spoilers. Not now, but in the future of this episode, we will say that.
Like the florist in the town will give you a taste.
We're going to give you a taste, hopefully, to get you hooked.
Yes.
So, right off the bat, from the opening thing, when you press play on Stranger Things, the opening title sequence just screams 80s.
80s, yeah.
Right.
I believe it's 83-ish.
Lasers, like heavy synthesizer theme music, which we'll play later on the episode for you. And it just is like, okay, this is going to be like your kind of 80s sci-fi feel to it.
Yeah. They're expecting them to bust out some Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. E.T. might fly across. Now, the gist of the story is it is 3 friends.
Starts
Will, the guy with the underbite. Yes, 4 friends.
4 friends.
I'm sorry. Very good, Cerny. Let me bring up their names here.
So there is Mike,
Luke,
Dustin, and Will.
And they are,
nerds.
They're what you would call nerds in the 80s. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons, literally in the basement of their house.
What the opening was, it was like, you've been playing it for 11 hours or something. Some kind of.
I've never known Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't realize you played for so long.
Yeah, I've never played.
That's too much of an investment.
I know
11 hours.
Yeah.
I know what it is, but 11 hours is wild. So they're really into this game. They're probably not. They don't seem to be the cool kids at school. They just kind of roll with their group. They ride their bikes everywhere.
Now, how old do you think they are?
In real?
No, in the show. I think it's like
5th or 6th grade. I would say like middle school. Just hitting puberty.
One of the kids, remember, he doesn't have any front teeth because he has some kind of condition.
Yeah, cleft palate situation or something going on. So, 13, 12, 13.
12, 13, I want to say,
So, and not really into girls.
No.
They're like, girls are yucky, whatever that age is.
Yeah.
So, and they're really all tight friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. In this kind of like small town.
Okies.
It's town. And one of his...
They leave. Remember, they're done. Mom sends them home.
Yes. So they finish their marathon Dungeons and Dragons game. Not even... Do they actually finish? Yeah, they do finish
they roll the dice. Remember, rolls off the table.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And they go home, and Will... One of the little kids, Will, with his big bowl cut, ends up being captured.
So he's riding home.
He's riding home. So we'll Go ahead, Cerny. You're good.
They're riding the bikes home. So the mom sends them home, and at this point, it's the 80s. I think it's 1983.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is perfectly acceptable. 1983. Neither Chip nor Cern were alive during this point in time, so we can't vouch for this. But they ride home on their bikes, and then Will, one of the friends, comes home, and there's like a noise. Remember, he jumps off his bike before he gets home and runs to the forest. Gets to his house, and there's nobody home, and there's just something chasing him. You really don't see it.
Right, they kind of allude to something like
there's noise and
good editing.
Yes, great editing.
Yeah.
And long story. Well, I guess long at this point. He disappears.
Yes.
And now the mystery is, where has Will gone? Is he alive? Is he dead? Where is he? Because there's no trace of him. And that's...
Besides his bike that he kind of ditched down the hill to run into a shed of some sort.
Yes.
Something was chasing him, so he went in the shed because he knew his old man kept a shotgun in there.
Yeah. He loaded it. Something was behind him in the shed.
Yeah.
Even though he was facing the door.
Right.
It popped up behind him. Disappeared. That was it.
Yeah. And his back was to the wall, figuratively and literally, and boom, he was gone. And they didn't show anything, so it was very suspicious on what actually captured him. And then the next day, like the mom's calling, "Oh, did Will ever leave yesterday?
Mike's house.
Mike's house. Oh yeah, he did. He left it. Blah blah blah." And
now the mom of Will is the klepto.
Winona Ryder is playing she's the actress that plays Joyce
Joyce
Byers.
Yeah, Joyce Myers. Will Myers. That's his name.
Byers.
Byers?
Well, that's what IMDb
Yes.
says.
Will Myers is the first baseman for the San Diego Padres.
Who the Giants beat. Well, then we won't get derailed with that. So, and it kind of goes that same episode, the boys are in school, they kind of realize that he's been taking, and they start to take on this search. Like,
Yes.
let's find our friend. We need to go look for him.
They go to the police chief. At this point, he's a douche.
Yeah, it's like one of these scenes where he wakes up and there's whiskey bottles around. He's
smoking.
got a wife beater, white tank top on, ripping butts. You know, his trailer is all fucked up with trash, and he's just like a degenerate, right?
Yeah. He rolls in, remember, and the lady's like, "There's so I have my coffee yet."
Right? Yeah.
I haven't had my coffee.
Yeah. Oh, so, Mrs. Joyce Byers is here, and she's reporting her son. I haven't had my coffee, and he's like got a cigarette fucking dangling out of his lip.
Yeah.
Just grabs a donut, stuffs it right in his face. You know, like a classic '80s cop, bad cop movie sort of thing. So, Winona Ryder plays Crazy very well.
Yes.
And she is very frantic, like, I know my boy's gone, and like, with the buggy, crazy eyes, and doing this whole thing. And he's like, okay, we know Joyce, and apparently there's been some history with Mrs. Byers and her family.
I assume it's Will's dad. Remember, he split, and
Right.
they assume, well, he's probably with his dad. He probably ran away, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Oh, you know, you're kind of weird because I forgot she works at like the hardware stores.
Yeah,
She doesn't,
they're the poor people of town. Like,
definitely
the joke.
And so basically, how does the first episode end? Do they don't find they meet their other new friend?
Not at this point. Now, this is there during the same episode.
Episode 1 we're talking
Episode
about only
1.
here. Stranger Things on Netflix.
Girl who looks like a boy.
Shaved head.
Yeah, shaved head. Was running. Remember, she went into the
That's right.
restaurant, was eating all the pies and snacks or whatever the fuck it was. Just eating.
Starving.
Like,
hasn't been fed in weeks.
Yes. Now, the one hint you get in this episode is, remember the fan while she was eating, I think it was some sort of sandwich and fries or ice cream or something like that.
Oh, there was fly.
It was squeaking.
Yeah.
And this girl kind of stopped the fan with her mind.
She kind of looked at it. It was like being, yes, instead of repeating what Cerny says, this girl, which looks like a 12-year-old boy, very androgynous, is that? I mean, prepubescent.
Yes.
Very thin, no feminine features.
No.
Buzz cut like a 2-guard on the top, running in, eating all this food in the diner. They're like, are you all right? And she's just eating it, and then the fan's making noise, and she kind of looks at it, and it goes...
It stops.
And you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. So we'll wrap up there.
Yeah.
That will be episode 1. So we will we'll play the theme song.
Yes.
And you can...
It's a sci-fi thriller.
Sci-fi thriller.
So it does relate, when you go through it, it relates to Dungeons and Dragons and dimensions. And stuff like that. So it's not like a... So my brother, when I told him about it, he should watch this. He made a good point. Is this one of those... And he says, is this one of those stupid vampire virus things? I said, no. This is a dimensional Dungeons and Dragons mystery
with a lot of nostalgia, heavy on the nostalgia.
Yes,
the 80s nostalgia.
Of 80s nostalgia. I like that.
Yeah.
So the first episode is, and I had to tell him and a few others.
Yeah,
it's building. It's a builder.
So the first episode, were you hooked? Did you want to go click to right to 2? It's chapter 2.
I didn't.
Okay.
In a way, I did, but it wasn't like wasn't as good as in Making a Murder. Where it was like I
you have to know what happens to the Rob 4.
Yeah. No, it was one of those. All right, let me see where it goes from here. Now in episode 2, when he starts going upon it, then you're like,
then it starts to get really good.
Damn it. But the first episode, no. But it's also, you're setting the stage. I get it.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's 8 episodes, like Cerny said, and a thing. So, henceforth, we'll give you a break. Now, you will hear spoilers.
Yes.
So, we'll give a moment of silence.
Turn it off. Just pause it. Watch the shows, and then come back to us. Share with a friend.
Welcome back, folks. You're here to hear spoiler-inducing, henceforth spoilers for Stranger Things on Netflix. I guess we'll work our way through the chapters, through the episodes here now. So Will's been vanished.
Yes. Now, I do want to say this. When they do when you watch on Netflix, the titles of each episode, they kind of tell you how it's going to go.
That's true.
Which I do kind of like.
So, Chapter 1 is The Vanishing of Will Byers. Chapter 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street. Chapter 3, Holly Jolly, The Body, The Flea and the Acrobat, The Monster, The Bathtub, and The Upside Down. Those are all the chapter names,
yes,
according to IMDb.
Yes.
The thing about Netflix, too, it kind of shows a little preview.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. What's happening?
Time out.
So I saw that, I was hearing about how cool this was, and I'm not really big into sci-fi, but this kind of got me hooked, and I like the 80s. It has a really cool soundtrack. Like, they're playing all the songs, and it has good electronic, synthesizer music, and the intro song's really cool. And I think we blasted through 1 or 2, maybe even 3 episodes on that first night, just because we had
I think I did 3 the first night.
Some time. But once you so episode 2 is when, as we know her now, the girl. So
they ask her. So when they're at the shop, the restaurant, the restaurant owner
calls.
Calls CPS. Hey, I have a child here eating. She looks like she's hungry. I'm feeding her.
Right.
So he's sitting down with her. Hey, what's your name? And she wouldn't talk.
Right.
I'll give you some ice cream. What's your name? 11.
Yeah. And did he see
like a barcode? Or
she had like some sort of tattoo or numbering system on her arm.
Yes.
And he kind of got a little suspicious. Then very quickly, it seemed like within 15 minutes of him making the CPS call, a woman in a suit comes up.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yes.
He even commented. He said, "Oh wow, you guys are fast." And you kind of get it. Yeah. And you're like, okay, something's up.
Yeah.
And the 11 girl turns around and kind of can see that people are coming. And the guy goes, "Oh, she's back here." And he turns around and she lifts up a gun and fucking blows his head off. Silence.
Right. Yeah.
Was there other people that she killed in the restaurant?
Because then a couple dudes come from the back.
That's right.
To get her, and then 11 uses her mind, her force, or whatever she has, and kills him and runs out the door.
That's right. So this 11, this little girl that's very hungry, has some very serious extraterrestrial powers with her mind. Now, does she start getting showing her signs of wear, like with the bloody nose? Does this kind of start happening a little bit?
Not at this point. She's running, and then I think they edit it to whatever Mike and the gang,
Luke, all going to look for Will.
Yes.
So now Winona Ryder went to try to tell the officer Jim Hopper,
yes,
that
that's right.
her boy's missing. And
so one of the things that drove me insane, I don't know about you. Now Hopper, the first few episodes,
the gruff cop he's a douche.
Yeah, but as it goes on, you kind of get a feel why he's a douche. He lost his daughter to cancer, I believe.
Yeah.
So I think he's dealing with some stuff personally.
He kind of fell off the deep end. It looks like.
Now his supporting cast, those two, Tweedledee and Tweedledum,
slapdicks almost.
They
I would call
drive me insane.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too. I just kind of gave up. Like they were so secondary to me, I just didn't give them the time of day, I guess.
It just drove me insane with the dumb shit stuff that would come out of their mouth. It would just drive me insane.
Yeah, they weren't very good. Now, in episode 2 or chapter 2, that's when Joyce gets a weird. Her phone rings.
Yes. Okay.
And she picks the phone up, and it
was like a
sparks, or it pretty much blows up.
Yeah, it's almost like a
surge,
computer,
power surge. Almost.
Yeah, remember she answered it. It was like almost like, remember the old day when someone was on the internet.
Yeah,
it was like and then it was like boom, yeah, blow.
And she's like, "Oh my god, I know that was Will." And so she thinks it's her son trying to communicate with her.
Yes,
this thing blows up. She's taken some time off work. She goes back into. She works at like the equivalent of what is like an Ace Hardware.
Yeah,
this really like
Mom
local
and Pop hardware.
Yeah, and she's like, Sam, the old owner, I've worked here for 12 years and I've taken one day. I need a 2-week advance. I need this to pay and give me some fucking cigarettes or something, a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And so, hi Zoe. And she gets a new phone because she thinks thing. And now the word is kind of going around town like
she's lost
she's a little crazy here. Her son is missing and everyone's sad.
Yeah.
But she also thinks he's trying to communicate through the phone with her.
Yeah, and they attribute it to her being just the pure stress and sadness of her son is lost, and she thinks she hears or whatever.
And Will has a brother, an older brother. Yeah. He's very much like, I guess you would call him like a loser, sort of.
A loner.
A loner, very much a loner. That's a better word for it. You know, kind of creepy, a little bit, like an emo sort of haircut, just really quiet.
Yes, but
like you know, he's kind of in the corner.
Typical character where he's one of the loner, but he's good at heart, but he's rough on the edge. You know, whatever.
And he's into
photography
and like blackroom.
Yes,
because they obviously don't have like the fucking cloud or anything in the 80s.
No, there's no digital.
So I think that kind of brings us over to we don't really get any more history on 11. At that point, I think that's in chapter 3.
Does she meet the boys yet or no?
It doesn't look like it. Let me go to chapter 3 and see what the situation is. So, in episode 2, one of the boys' sisters and this girl Barb go to a party.
Okay, yes.
They're like the cool quarterback of the team invites Nancy.
That's right.
Which is Will's...
Mike's
sister. Older sister, like, what would you say, sophomore in high school or junior in high school or something?
Yeah.
Oh, the big football player, the big quarterback is inviting her over. Oh, he's just trying to...
She's going to give it up.
Yeah. She's going to give up her V card to this guy with crazy good hair.
Yeah.
And so she brings along her dud of a friend, Barb, who's the frump of the frump. And Nancy, no, you shouldn't do that. You know he's just going to have sex with you. And oh, you changed your bra. Oh, you wore these underwear. Like she's noticing the stuff, and they make her purposely very frumpy and not very likable, and just kind of like
the wet blanket of the group. Yes,
wet blanket's a good thing, a good way to describe it, CERN. And so they go over to the party, and, Nancy kind of cuts loose a little bit, shotguns a beer, everyone else is drinking.
Gets thrown in the pool.
Yeah, flirtatious. There's another couple there that are, like, making out all the time, and it's clear they're fucking each other's brains out like rabbits, like, high school.
Did they say that? Where they've been doing it since 7th grade or whatever it was,
Right, yeah. And so Barb's just there, kind of the awkward fifth wheel.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And she kind of sees Nancy go up, and she's like, "Nancy, are you sure?" Because they try to make this kind of pact in the car before they went into the party.
Yes.
Like, CERN, I know I won't let John take advantage of it. I won't let him swipe your V card from you. And so John and Nancy are going up there. Nancy and the quarterback guy are going up.
Steve, is that his name?
Maybe.
We'll look it up. I believe it's Steve.
You can finish describing.
They were. She was going up. Remember, she called out to him, and she said, "I'm fine, Barb. Go home." Right? So she said, "Go home."
Yeah.
But Barb didn't go home.
Oh.
She stayed at the house.
Yes.
She walked out to the pool. That's where the scene was, where the party was. Mm-hmm. Was at the pool. That's where what's her face got thrown in, and so she had to change her clothes.
Steve Harrington is the guy's name. Very good, Cerny.
So then Barb was waiting out by the pool for them to get done with the dirty.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't a sex scene. It was like a high school makeout scene. And the girl that was playing this was very young looking.
Yes.
It made me slightly uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah.
They didn't show any titties or anything, but like
it was in her bra. Remember, she took her shirt off. And
fucking mosquito bites for tits. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Remember, Steve was like, "I won't look," and she's like, "No, look, whatever."
I want you to look at the skeeter bites.
I was like, "Wait a minute, well,
Steve,
we're not getting a pedophilia here. Come on."
Yeah. I'm like, dude,
this may have been acceptable in 1983, but it's not acceptable in 2016.
And I was like, oh, I mean, if they're going to show her titties, I'll look, because she's obviously 18 then, but making me, I feel a little weird right now.
Yeah.
And Barb ended up shotgunning a beer or trying to shotgun a beer before this, and she cut her finger open because she's a rube and doesn't know.
She was bleeding into the pool. Now, when this was all going on, Will's brother, I forget his name. Jonathan, that's right, was taking pictures of them in the bushes.
But he was not being a creep and stalking. Originally, he was looking.
He was looking for his brother.
He wasn't setting out to be a creep. Very good, Cerny. He was looking for his brother Will.
Yes.
Trying to take photos. He was taking photos of, I guess, what you would call the crime scene.
Yes.
Of where his bike is, kind of walking along in the woods, and he kind of came across this Nancy in the pool, them playing by the pool.
Yes.
And he started taking photographs with his Pentax camera. Or SLR. There's no digital back in 83.
Yes.
And he then started taking pictures, and Barb's bleeding into the pool, and then we kind of see another of this mysterious shadow.
The noise, right?
Yeah.
There's a noise that I can't describe, but you know something's coming. There's a noise.
It's not a good noise.
Yeah. And then Barb vanishes. Oh, fuck. Just vanishes.
Gone.
She was sitting on a diving board and vanishes.
And Jonathan's kind of taking pictures, and he goes to change film or do something.
He gets sidetracked.
He turns back,
and she's gone.
And that pretty much is kind of how that episode wrapped up.
That's right. Because, that is.
So that leads us to Chapter 3, Holly Jolly. The little brief is there's increasing concern. Nancy's looking for Barb, and then finds out what Jonathan's been up to. And Joyce convinces Will's trying to talk to her. Mm-hmm. So the next day at school, everyone goes back to Nancy goes back home, and her mom kind of discovers that she's been out. And they've been kind of saying, oh, well, we were doing something for Will. Like, the school was kind of holding like a vigil or something. And she's like, you've changed your clothes. And she's like, you're with blah, blah. And you can tell the mom was looking and was like, I was in your shoes, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I'm not a fucking idiot. I know you're catching the D from this quarterback.
But
that's the way that I heard it.
Now, that's how I heard it too. The dad of
he's a
Nancy
fucking rube.
And Mike. He is the biggest rube.
There's no way he got that girl.
No.
First of all.
The Mike's dad or whatever.
Yeah.
He's I don't know what he reminds me of. He reminds me of like a character on Alf or something like that, or he's
a parody of like a father, sort of.
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
He doesn't wear the pants, that's for sure.
Anyway, we get sidetracked. So, anyway, we pick up where she's at school.
Yeah.
And she's
Where's Barb? Where's Barb?
And shouldn't you know? That was
calling her mom on the payphone at school. Yeah. And this whole time, for some reason, we're not focusing on it, but the show is very much focused on the three friends trying to find their other friend.
Yes.
Mike, Luke, and why am I blanking on their names? The toothless guy, who's like
Mike,
one of the most
Luke,
beloved
Dustin?
characters, Dustin. Yes. So this whole time that we're not talking about it, they're looking for their friend.
Yeah. And
So
they're
let's
going through
just-
some things.
Let's
There's
just
some
arch through that.
bullies guy. There's
Yeah.
two guys that like to pick on him, and then
They're bullies. Oh, your friend, he fucking probably killed himself or whatever
he's such a
because
loser.
he's a
They
loser.
called him a fag or queer or something like that, didn't
yeah, I think.
they? Some 80s term.
Yeah.
Because he was a sensitive boy or whatever whatever it was. But
And he was good at drawing.
Yes.
And kind of a little bit more artistic.
So I think the bullies were calling him gay of some sort. Mm-hmm. And they kind of just passed that. Now, when do they meet? Which episode did they meet? 11. I don't remember.
Let me
Because they're
see.
going through. They're starting their own thing. Remember, because the chief said, "Stay out of it." Now
Right.
they're like,
I think it's probably episode 3.
okay, so the chief says, "Stay out of it," but we have a brief exchange. They're obviously like king of the science nerds, right? Because the science teacher was,
and they're doing CB radio or some sort of radio.
Yes,
like they're the teacher's pet.
yes, their teacher's
And
pet.
he's a huge nerd about it.
and he
too.
lets them play with some kind of radio. They can go to Australia. Remember that was the big thing.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to try to call Will, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So everyone, or people are sort of looking to Barb, and Joyce, Winona Ryder, is fucking still out of her gourd. Her phone blew up again because she got another call.
So when that happened,
Yes.
I was saying, hang up the phone. I was yelling at TV, hang up the phone, because the same noise came through.
Right. Why
It
would
was
you?
the same circumstances when the other phone blew up. She was all this trouble getting a new phone, and then we're replaying what just happened. And she still hangs on the phone, waiting for it to blow up.
Because her boy's calling her, Cerny. That's why.
That's what my wife said. But I said, "Come on now,
I know.
this just happened. Hang the phone up."
And it like blew the phone, like the telephone company had to come up and was like, "You took quite the surge of power here," or something.
Yeah.
And now lights are kind of flickering around the house, I think.
Yes.
So she's kind of walking around and a light will go, like the filament will flicker.
Yes.
And then she'll walk down the hall a little further and it will flicker again. Well, is that you? Like doing this shit. And you're just like, this fucking lady's out of her gourd.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
How could she make that connection was beyond me, but that was,
Yeah. And then Jonathan, Will's older brother, is developing these creeper ass photos that he took of Nancy
at school.
Yeah, at school in the dark room, which I guess have to assume you either tried to bone people or jerked off in because it's completely black.
It would have to be.
You would have to. It's the fornication room, and
I never thought of that, but that is
like, what else would you do? You'd be trying to get trying to get laid in there.
Absolutely.
And he's in there, and he's like developing. He has a photo of Nancy, like, reaching back to unclasp her bra in the window, like it's all zoomed in. And this other girl walks in and sees that he's looking at that and is like, "Oh!" And he's like, rips the photos down real quick,
hanging them to dry,
and he fucking leaves. The quarterback catches wind of this. They confront him in the parking lot, like, "Let me see what you got." And the Jonathan guy's like, "No."
Yes.
Takes it, fucking smashes his camera, rips the photos up, and Nancy's like, "One, gave up my fucking V card, and now there's photographic evidence of this.
Yes.
This is horrible. Like, probably a girl's worst nightmare in high school. 2, this creep was like spying on us, and now she's like, oh, Nancy's a slut kind of stuff is going around the thing. And so they fuck this poor loner guy's camera up, like they break it.
She feels bad for him.
She does. There's a little bit of...
He just lost his brother.
Yeah. There's a little bit of like, not guilt, but pity. She feels
Pity,
bad for him.
But...
And they rip up the photos and she kind of grabs a couple
Yes.
of them because she doesn't want her titties out.
And then she notices that there's some pictures, remember, of Barb.
Barb, that's right.
Last seen in the flesh.
Well, yeah. And then...
So,
mhm.
so then that sparks her interest to... Maybe I should hang out with this guy a little more. I don't know.
Yeah. And now, in this episode 3, we get a little bit more insights into what 11 is.
Okay.
It shows her with lots of wires on her head, like this, almost like a helmet, sort of, with a bunch of
Yes.
different sensors that she puts on. and they're tracking brain waves, and she's like smashing soda can with her mind.
Yes.
She's smashing soda cans.
She's in like a military.
It's
like
clearly, some sort of special ops.
and she talks to this guy. She calls him Papa.
Papa, yeah.
He was
It's a silver fox, sort of. A suit with all white hair.
If you ever saw, what the fuck's that movie?
What's
Dark
his-
Knight Rising. Remember, he was the douchey cop that wouldn't go out and fight with anybody until the very end.
Really?
I believe.
What's his... Hawkins had a secure... No.
He was in Memphis Belle. They call him Papa. She called him Papa in the movie or in the show.
I'm trying to look for someone named Papa, but I'm not.
All right, I'm on it too.
Okay. It's not detrimental to our story, but he clearly kind of...
Dr. Martin Brenner in the show.
Okay.
Matthew Modine.
Modine, yeah.
Modine.
He's the youngest of 7. He was born in Loma Linda, California.
Oh.
Anyway, he's kind of like the head of the CIA or the head of the department. Oh, wow, he was in Full Metal Jacket, too.
Oh, sorry. He's Foley in Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, right. So they're running experiments on this 11 girl, including what seems to be putting her in some sort of deep deprivation tank, tank of water. They're putting a big, like, 1920 scuba mask thing with a big hose running up, and they dunk her in this water, and they shut it off, and it kind of, like, shows her being transported into another dimension.
Yeah, so her brain power is so the sensory deprivation, I think they call it.
Yeah.
It dunks her, and then she can use her powers to
go into another dimension,
yes,
pretty much.
Yes, exactly. Which is, and actually when she, did they show when she goes in there at this point in time?
I think.
Because remember, this was like they're flashing where like he told her to kill the cat, and he said no. Remember with their brain.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I believe she does.
So they're giving a lot of history on 11 in this episode as well, which is kind of good because you can see, wow, this little kid is super powerful.
Yes. And the military's grooming her for some sort of probably killing machine.
Right,
or something
yeah.
with her.
Totally. And she goes in this dimension, which is this pitch black, endless thing, and she's walking, it seems like water a little bit. And she's just going, and then there'll be like one object that she's walking towards.
Yes, because she was trying to spy on, was it like a Russian at this point?
Right.
I believe 1983, the Cold War was hot and heavy.
Yeah.
So that was probably what they were gearing it towards.
And it looked like the test they were running, she was in this deprivation tank, and then they had some guy, in a room, other in the other building reading off like a script, and she's like, word for word saying what it is, and they're like, wow, she can hear, or she can like do this. So it's clear that she's a very powerful.
Now there's like a
superhuman,
roar, right?
Yeah. Is that when she kind of wakes up?
Yeah,
the other dimension.
Not at this point. Remember, there was she was looking at some. I think it was a Russian guy saying there are 2 Russian guys having a conversation. She was standing there looking at him. Like she was in the room, but she couldn't be seen.
Yeah.
So and then there was a roar or something. She got scared and she woke up out of the deprivation.
And she freaks the fuck out.
Yes.
And she becomes, what you're kind of noticing is she becomes very weak. It like takes a lot of energy for her to do these things. If she does something small like crush a soda can, she gets just a little bit of blood from her nose. But if she does one of these huge things like killing people or flipping trucks, she like almost faints, or she does faint or nearly passes out. So she has a lot of powers, but they also take the toll on her. So that was pretty much episode 3. Episode 4, or maybe in episode 3, I don't quite remember. The group of 3 boys find 11.
I believe it's in 3.
I think it's probably in 3. They find her.
And you know what? To be honest, I don't remember how they find her either.
I was going to ask you. Do you remember? She's wandering. She's probably like wandering through the forest, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of forest action.
She's very shy.
Time with this show.
Very shy, and the boys find her, and she's not talking, and they're like, "Just come with us," sort of thing. So they hide her in Mike's
attic,
basement.
So I don't know about you, but the lack of supervision,
astonishing.
when we were that young may have been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
We would have ran wild. The fact that you can house another human
Fugitive.
being,
And a fugitive at that. And a female fugitive.
in your house without a question.
Yeah. No one's questioning.
I mean, these kids are going out at midnight. They're just leaving, coming and going as they please.
On the bike, no helmet. Couldn't believe it.
Oh, man.
So 11 comes over and they use Nancy. They like go get one of Nancy's old dresses and kind of like dress up this girl.
Yes, the wig and all that shit.
Put a wig on her. She's like sleeping. There's a table and they like hang a sheet over it and that's her bed.
Yeah.
And she really loves Eggo waffles.
Yes, Eggos.
Of course, Joyce is still trying to not believe her son is dead.
Yes.
He's still around.
We still have a couple bouts with Hopper going over which is the captain.
Right.
Going over and telling her
And,
she's
the whole
insane.
time they're kind of saying this backstory and everything, which is fine. Now, at any point, we're 4 episodes deep. At any point, did you feel like there could have been some fat trimmed from this, or did you feel it was a good...
At this point, I felt it was good.
Okay.
It was good. What do you think?
Yeah, good amount of pace, good backstory. I didn't feel like, well, I wish I knew why Barb went to this school. Like,
So it reminds me of, what's that analogy? Like a record, right?
yeah.
So the beginning it goes a little slow, and then as you start
Okay.
getting into it, it starts going
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. This is the part where you start getting into it pretty
Fast and
quick.
Furious,
Yes, Fast
sort
and
of.
Furious.
Yeah, and this is where if the hook didn't really set in the first episode or two, it's really in, and they're fucking reeling you right in,
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah,
God,
yeah.
I got to fire these off one after
Yeah.
another because it's like I need to know what happens.
I think at this point in time, it's like, I got to go to bed. I got to work in the morning.
Right, yeah.
And then I'd be working. Like, God, I can't wait to get home and watch
Stranger Things. So this is when Jonathan, the kind of the loner kid, and Nancy kind of formed like an alliance.
Yes.
Sort of. She's like, I know you were creeping on me, trying to, I was catching some D, maybe doing some B and J, and who knows?
Who knows? No, I thought there was going to be some B and J going on for
Jonathan.
Some
Fucking-
sympathy B and J?
No.
No.
She's too young. She doesn't, she has to get married
True.
for a sympathy BJ. But they're kind of forming like an alliance, like, oh, okay, I'll help you kind of find your brother. And he's very nice.
And she has a vested interest because of Barb.
Yes, Barb. She wants to help find Barb because she realizes, hey, this photo's here. So they go back. Now, obviously, the boys have 11 now. And the Hopper cop, as Cerny said, he was a real douchebag at first. He's really turning the corner.
Yes.
He's starting to get very intrigued by this. And there's a couple things that are fishy going on. And Hopper, this is the part that I really liked. He really started to kind of dig in and ask questions.
Yes.
There was a guy like, oh, yeah, well, this is the autopsy. Was this when they found the...
Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
Maybe
Yes,
what
yes.
episode? That we might have
glossed over.
we might have glossed over this
huge
fact.
portion.
In episode 2, maybe 3,
2, 3, something like that.
they find Will's body, and they're not letting anybody near it.
So they pull it out of the
River, like he
like
jumped off a huge cliff into the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we found his body. Oh, no, you can't go by. And everyone's like really sad.
Yeah.
Then they bring Joyce
They
by.
yell at 11, or the boys yell at 11 because 11 because they
God, how do we
talking to
miss
him.
this, Ernie?
They're talking about, I don't know. Because she
makes contact with him.
she saw a picture of him, remember?
Right. And she's
She
like,
said, I know, kind of like, I know him.
Yeah.
Is he alive? Yes. Is he safe? No.
Right, okay.
Okay, is he still alive? Yes. She says that, and then right after that,
they find
they
that
find
he's
the
dead.
body.
That's like episode 3 or 2, maybe.
2 or 3, something like that.
Oh, it is 3 because episode 4 says, refusing to believe Will is dead, Joyce tries to connect with her son.
We're still in line.
And they bring Joyce by, and they're like, we need to identify the body, right?
That's episode 4.
Yeah, we're on episode 4.
Yes.
And they just kind of show her through a glass window, and she starts kind of crying, and she's like, no, that's not him, that's not him.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, crazy lady, you fucking wild,
this is
batshit crazy bitch. And she's like, that's not him, that's not my boy. And they're like, okay. And, refusing, she's obviously now really
not
gone off the
accepting
deep
it.
end. Yeah.
Because it looks just like him. And they,
Right.
When I saw it, I was like, what?
Yeah.
He died?
I was like, oh, well,
the fuck?
what are they going to do for 6 more episodes now?
Where's the mystery here? We're going to find Barb? Fuck.
Yeah, like everyone kind of loses care of Barb, rightfully so. So 11 gets the makeover with the dress and everything. Joyce is still dead set that her boy Will is alive.
Yes.
Is this when she hangs the lights?
I believe so. She starts hanging lights. Remember, and this is where we start really
Christmas
getting
lights.
into it. Yes, Christmas lights all inside her house,
Yeah.
on the walls,
With
on the
fucking
ceilings.
nails.
It's insane.
Galvanized decking nails,
Yes.
probably.
This is where, remember when the chief asked,
Where Hopper asked the guy, like,
Yes.
why didn't they let anyone into that body? Did you
they
do
said,
it?
did you do this? Well, no,
The coroner.
the
or
state
something.
came in. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's right.
The state came in. They wouldn't let anybody touch it. Well, the so-and-so, which was just a coroner.
Just start asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't allow him in there. Why not? I don't know. And
Right.
It was like, And then that's when, you get the exchange in the street between Winona and her, quote, the oldest son.
Jonathan.
Where he's saying, I'm going to go bury Will.
Yeah,
and
you have
you're
to accept
insane.
it sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
have this whole confrontation on the sidewalk, and there's people around, and he's like, "Mom, you just need to accept he's dead," type of thing. But the officer Hopper, is kind of like starting to. You can see it's in his head clicking a little bit, like something's not right here,
Yeah.
type of thing. And
Is this where he breaks into the morgue?
yeah, that's episode 5.
Okay.
So we can move to that. So this is where Hopper really earns some points in Chipper's view, in my view here.
He does.
He starts doing some fucking detective work on this shit.
Yes.
So he, grabs the state detective or coroner by the shirt collar and like holds him up against the wall, and the guy's like, "Stay away from this." And he goes, "They're here," and he looks around, and this car like peels out.
Yeah,
that was like
right after
supervising
the bar.
them.
Remember, he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is my celebrating." He says, "Get him kind of liquored up."
Oh right, yeah.
And it says, how'd you find that body? Oh, look at the time. Really? Because I believe it's not part of your route or whatever the hell.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he knew that the coroner or whoever found the dead body is drinking at a bar, and he's kind of there buying him a whiskey or whatever. And he starts picking his brain, and he realizes like something's up, and he goes, "Just stay away," or something like that, pretty much. And he kind of like turns around, and there's a car that peels out that was spying on him.
Then he breaks into. We're really glossing over. So when you listen to Chip and Cern, the show is really about the boys.
Right.
We're taking the other angle.
Yeah, we're digging deep into the details.
Yes. So the boys are doing their own.
They're doing their own thing, and we won't cover that. We're getting to the nitty gritty for you. We may gloss over a couple of key points, but you know what?
Watch the show.
That's what makes it fucking exciting. How you enjoy this podcast is if you've heard it, and we're kind of filling the details in of things you may have missed. Not intentionally. That's just what's happening
Yeah.
right now. And, that the boys are always looking for Will.
Yes.
We're kind of like trying to...
And they're dealing with 11 and their whole
Yeah.
thing. They're going back and forth with. I'm gonna go tell my.
We
they
should
thought
tell
she was
my
a
mom.
lost person. We'll
Yeah.
tell my mom. No, there's some bad people looking for you. And they
Right.
said, "How bad?" And she says, "You should makes the gun
Yeah,
fingers
makes-
and
Right. So there's a
do you
lot
get
of...
it?
There's a lot of like level 1 high arching stuff, which is the boys and 11 are all looking for Will.
Yes, but they have superpowers, and they kind of figured out this.
Cern and I are in the weeds here.
Yes.
In the nitty gritty. So I do like Hopper. He breaks into this,
Morgue, I guess it would be.
or no, he breaks into the. Oh yeah, I guess it is the morgue
Yeah, where the body's being held.
where the body's
Will.
being held.
So he pulls out Will's body.
Oh, out of the slides the body thing out,
Yep.
and he kind of goes like, and he has his knife and he fucking just stabs it in the stabs the body in the chest and like rips open
Cotton.
and like cotton comes out like it's a stuffed.
It's a stuffed animal.
And I'm like, holy
I know.
fuck!
I
Like this
there
blew.
we
I
go.
was like, oh my god, this shit's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And at that point, like he's fucked. And what did he do after that? Did he go right to breaking into the military base type thing, or
Don't remember.
okay?
Shit.
I don't
I don't think so either. Not at this point. He doesn't say anything at this point.
Yeah, chapter 5. The boys are trying to locate the gate that will take them to Will.
Okay, so maybe they're locating the gate. So now we know there's a gate. So maybe he did. So we kind of go in and out between the state or government run facility that's kind of like under.
It seems highly military.
Yes.
Facility.
There's like this weird
ooze and roots and different stuff.
And they have to wear like a special like
hazmat
suits because it's toxic to breathe,
and they're cutting in and out of this stuff, and there's this weird. It's obviously some sort of. Think of it actually. This is kind of an interesting analogy, but like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's kind of the wardrobe. Yes. Where you walk in and you're in a different dimension.
Yes.
So they essentially have a wardrobe there, but it's much gnarlier. There's ooze coming out and fumes and stuff.
This weird shit floating in the air you see all the time.
But yeah, it looks like fireflies or something. And they're kind of sending some people in, and these guys have fucking M5 machine guns, and they've got, cable strapped to them, and they got a winch on the end.
Yes.
And he's like walking in, and all of a sudden you're screaming, and all that comes out is just the broken cable.
And it was actually the guy that walked in, which you were talking about, was Papa, the main guy's son. Remember, he said, "Don't let my son," and he freaked out.
Huh. So I missed that part. What catch the details, sir?
So it was the gate. Did they actually explain how the gate opens at this point? This is episode 5?
No. That was like episode 8 or 7, maybe. 7 or 8.
So there's a gate. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I believe...
A gate to the other dimension is what Cern's saying.
Yes. So we kind of play on a Dungeons and Dragons kind of a thing at this point. There's a parallel dimension, basically, that... How do I explain it? We exist in one. There's another one with other creatures that's similar, that's identical.
But the humans aren't there. It's just these other creatures. Now, at this point, we have seen this creature a couple times, like actually seen it in the flesh, sort of.
Yes.
It kind of comes out of walls. And Joyce, Will's mom, has gone to hanging in the Christmas lights, written out the alphabet on the wall.
Yes.
And Will...
With lights above each letter.
Yeah.
So she can.
So if it lights up this, he goes A, B, C. So Will, in fact, we are learning that he is communicating through electricity, it appears.
Yes.
And she'll go, "Are you safe?" Y, E, S. Oh my God. Yes, you're safe. Okay. Where are you? H, E, R, here. Oh my God, where are you, Will? You're here type of thing. And so this is kind of exciting. Like he's communicating, and then
he's alive.
This creature kind of comes out of the wall, and the fucking lady goes crazy and axes the wall open, trying to save her boy, type of thing.
Yeah.
But in the whole time, it is another dimension. Now Hopper, they know that Will is still alive, or that his death was faked.
Yes.
They know about the gate. Now we go on to episode 6. So we have 3 episodes left.
Ooh, now we're getting the nitty gritty.
The synopsis of this one is Hopper and Joyce find the truth about the lab's experiments. Okay. And then after their fight, the boys look for missing 11. So Hopper, the police chief, did some more digging into the archives and kind of found that this military base had done a lot of experiments in the 70s with like LSD,
opening up the mind, and did it with pregnant ladies.
Right. So they did it with a pregnant lady, and it was reported that her kid was taken from her, or that died during this experiment. And they go to try to talk to this lady, and she's basically a vegetable, right?
She doesn't respond at all.
And they're like, "Do you know?"
I think her sister was.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you can't get her to talk. She hasn't said anything in 8 years," or this type of thing. And so you're kind of getting excited because Hopper's finding some really crazy details that can like really blow this thing open.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, this guy was prosecuted, but it kind of got washed away, and he's still..."
He went to the library. He used the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, they were using microfilm, actually. Yeah, the Dewey Decimal System. Is that even around still, do you think?
I don't think so. I don't know.
When you go to the library, how do you find...
I've been in the library since I was in kindergarten, so...
I thought you were going to say college, and I'm like, I didn't even go in college.
No.
I did, to catch a nap for myself.
Yeah. They use the internet.
Right. Use the internet, look at some borderline softcore porn, in the library. But so Hopper's really finding a lot of good details about this, and you're getting. I was pretty excited. Like he's going to blow the shit wide open, and it's going to blow it open. It's going to get shut down. It's kind of becoming obvious with the boys in 11 that Mike, kind of the main leader of the kids, sort of has a little bit of a crush on 11.
He's crushing.
Now she has a buzz cut.
Yeah, but she's wearing a wig for most of this time.
Oh,
so
right,
she has a
like a really funny blonde wig, like what E.T. had on actually.
Ooh,
didn't E.T. have a wig on? I've never even seen E.T. No joke. I've never seen E.T.
Oh,
but he had I remember seeing a photo with.
Oh man,
with that wig.
Both of you been on the Chip and Cern show.
I know. Well, that's our next review. E.T.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, she was a little girl.
But, okay. Jeez. Okay. Let's not get too derailed. And Mike, or who's the black kid?
Lucas.
Lucas is like, man, the whole time he's kind of saying that 11, he can't trust her.
Can't trust her.
What was the thing that
he was all pissed off, remember, because he said she's safe, and then he was dead. And then, so they all got pissed off about that.
She's provided some information that's turned out to not be the most reliable.
Yeah.
This kid.
In their eyes, yes.
This girl has. And so they're like, oh, no, she's like, what analogy do they keep using?
Shit.
It was like I don't know. Anyway.
They use an analogy of not so favorable.
Yeah. So she can't be trusted. She's like a Trojan horse type of thing, or they say something like that, right? And they're kind of still obviously searching for him. And they're now kind of seeing that 11 is being hunted by these, what appears to be government officials, and they're running from her. Now the boys have a fight, and 11, does she hurt?
Yeah,
Luke?
I remember they were pushing each other, and they're like starting to like kind of like wrestle fight, I guess. That one of those. No,
like
really
how 12-year-olds fight.
Yeah,
just wrestling each other to the ground type of thing.
And stuff. And she uses her power, and she kind of like throws them apart.
Oh, right.
Remember, and Lucas hit his head.
And they were like, oh, shit, he could be injured. And, or what was the kid's name?
Dustin.
Gets really mad, and he's kind of the even-keeled, chunky, fun guy the whole time. He gets upset, and he goes, you've kind of ruined everything, sort of. And she pretty much disappears. Yeah,
remember Lucas, I'm out of here.
Right.
He runs off. Dustin kind of gets on her and says, hey, wait.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then, she runs off. Everyone kind of just scatters.
Everyone disappears. And they're kind of in what appears to be like a junkyard with a couple old school buses and cars and stuff. This could be the Avery junkyard. What do you think about that?
It was a RAV4.
RAV4. So they start looking for 11 that she's missing. And that leads us to episode 7, the bathtub. Now 11 is seriously being hunted by the government.
Yes, because they kind of, I think they get a whiff of where she's at.
They're kind of interviewing more people, like the old teacher, and they're like, oh, what, the boys? Yeah, they had this girl with them.
Yeah.
What did she look like? Oh, she had a shaved head. And they're hot on the trail.
And I believe at this point, this is episode 7.
Yeah. Hopper had broken into the CIA building, probably not in episode 7, but probably sooner.
Somewhere around there.
And
6, 7.
He was kind of, he played it cool the first time. He got caught, and he kind of played it cool, and they let him go.
Yeah.
The second time he got caught again, they fucking injected him.
Yes, that's right. The neck, right?
Yeah. And then he woke up, and he was like, he was back in his house.
Because he remember he broke into the room with the gate.
That's right. With
he was coughing, and because of toxic air or whatever, and they injected him.
Then he wakes up, and he's back in his house, and there's pills all over. They try to make it look like maybe not an overdose, but that he just had a heavy night.
He was dreaming, yeah.
And then he's like, fuck, and he finds like a little bug in his house, and he goes into other people's houses, and he finds these bugs. That's how this agency's getting all this intelligence on them and hearing everything that they're doing.
Now, this is also the episode, I believe, where was it Nancy
Yeah.
and Jonathan were collecting their arms to go set a trap for this. And I believe this is episode 7, so we now identified as the Demogorgon, which is the demon, which has been eating people.
Yeah. And it seems to be attracted to
blood.
And it can come out of walls and different sort of crazy shit.
Yes.
Nancy and Jonathan are kind of looking for it. Like, they get big-ass bear traps,
They're
guns.
walking through the forest. Remember, they're walking through the forest.
Yeah. And he
this
finds
point.
this, like, tree.
There was a dead deer. Remember, that
that's
was
right.
wounded. And they're looking at it and the noise, and then it got ripped away.
That's right, because they were going to shoot it.
Yep.
Jonathan was telling the story about how his dad made him shoot a rabbit when he was a kid, and that's how he knows how to use the gun. And Nancy goes to shoot, or Jonathan's going to shoot the deer in the head because it had been hit by a car and it was like suffering.
Yes.
He's going to put it out, and he's like about to pull a trigger, and all of a sudden it just gets pulled back by this Demogorgon thing. So all this is very exciting, and you're like, I just got to fucking finish this show because I need to know what happens.
I mean, it's one at this point.
They kind of find out based on talking to the teacher that there is something called what the kids are calling the Upside Down.
Yes.
So a parallel universe, but on the bottom, sort of.
So there's the universe that we all are on, which is on one plane.
Yeah.
And then there is an Upside Down, which is the same universe, so the parallel universe, which is on the underside of that plane, which is called the Upside Down. Now they said that you really can't go in between it unless something
big opens the gate.
Opens the gate. Usually, there's a what do you use it? A
disturbance
flea?
Yeah.
No human, according to him, could open this gate. A tremendous amount of energy would have to open the gate.
Yeah. So they're like, well, the energy. They start following their compasses around.
Yes.
And they kind of find out where this gate is because it pulls the magnetic energy instead of going towards magnetic north, where a compass would lead you. The compass actually lead him to where this gate is.
Correct.
And Nancy and Jonathan are out hunting goblins and demogorgons, and they find a tree trunk.
Yes.
For some unknown reason.
They follow a trail of blood from a deer, right? Or something weird.
And it goes under the tree. Who goes in? Nancy goes in first, right?
Nancy went in and Jonathan did not. Remember, they got split up at that point.
Yeah. Which is so fucking stupid. Like, I'm like, okay, bitch, you deserve to die.
Yeah,
because you're doing stupid.
Like,
this is the '80s. This is the '80s dumb thing. And this whole time they're playing like really cool '80s music, Bowie and like heavy synthesizer type stuff, and it really kind of ties it all together. So Nancy realizes, and she actually gets out of this parallel universe. But she kind of did. She find Will's old fort and stuff.
Yeah, so she was in the forest where Will had a fort, which we glossed over.
Right, gloss. We didn't even fucking get close to that one. Oh well. I mean, this can't be a 4-hour podcast about
a safe haven fort.
10 hours of TV.
So she sees it. She kind of sees what's
appears to be Will's.
Yeah, there's everything what's in our world, but it's in another
hazy,
dimension.
dark, toxic.
Yeah, there's that shit floating around in the air.
Yeah.
And she sees the Demogorgon eating the deer. Right. She screams and the thing's looking for her. Yeah. She's panicking. And I believe Jonathan sticks his head into the tree and pulls her out.
That was good. I thought it was for sure BJ for that one, but I guess not. No.
So how it wraps up, White Trooper said there was a BJ thought.
Oh.
Remember they go back to her house, she takes a shower, and he's laying on the floor. She goes, "Can you lay in bed with me?"
Right.
He's cashing in.
Right.
He's cashing in.
Raging hard on.
No.
Right. They go back and somebody catches Steve.
Steve catches
Jonathan
in the
window and sees
he's
that
pissed and he walks away, but then he's laying in bed.
It was just more for company. He got fucking friend zoned. Hard. Yeah. Jonathan got friend zoned.
So he's just like the San Francisco Giants. There's no closer. Couldn't close it. Couldn't close the deal.
Good tie-in, sir. I'm gonna leave that dangling rather than taking the bait. But we're gonna jump right into the 8th and final episode of season 1. Now this was just jam packed.
It was. What's it called again?
the Upside Down.
Okay.
So this is one thing we forgot about. Episode 7 was the boys found 11.
Oh yeah,
and they go
reunited
with Officer Hopper.
Yep.
And they make a flotation tub to try to close the gate.
That's right, because upon learning about
they realized that 11 opened the gate.
And 11 then had said
that
she was responsible for opening the gate because. And then we did a flashback because there's
lots of flashbacks to like a lot of military experiments.
Yeah, and they said that go ahead and do it again. Remember the Papa or whatever his name is said, go ahead and do it, nothing to be scared of.
Yeah,
she went and tried to do the espionage again.
Yeah,
Demogorgon got scared, screamed, and the amount of energy that came out of her head opened the gate.
Yeah, and that's how the Demogorgon was able to come in and take Will in the first place.
Yes.
So they're trying to close this gate up, and they have to make her a float tank. So they get all the salt and water, and she's able to communicate. And she sees that Barb is fucking dead.
She's dead.
But they see Will.
He's still alive.
And he's like, he's hanging on by a thread.
He's hanging.
And so they're very excited about this. But the whole time, the government is like hunting 11 down.
So...
And they pretty much find that he's at
Lucas
school.
Didn't want to shake hands, and he was going to go find Will himself. So he was like up in a tree.
That's right.
Looking at this, he was posting up on the government side.
Fence, yeah, and he saw they all rolled out.
Yeah, and he had noticed that there was like almost like an AT&T van, I guess it would be.
It's like electrical or plumbing or something like that.
He noticed it outside of the houses, and then when he was looking inside the military place, they had an army of them.
Right.
So then he kind of pieced it together, and they all were mobile because they had figured out where she was.
Yeah.
He had walkie-talkied in, so then now they're on the run.
Yeah. And they're like, they're coming, the bad men are coming, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they're literally riding their bikes away from these guys because they're coming to get 11. 11 goes fucking apeshit on them and uses her powers and does some fucking car flips, killing folk. Like, it's pretty fucking cool. That scene was pretty cool.
Yes.
Now, Harper, Officer Hopper, and Joyce are like taken in for questioning.
That's right.
By the Poppy guy, and he's like, I fucking know what you do here. You're doing this. You don't know what you're dealing with, and I'm going to report you all this stuff. And they're like, okay. And he goes, and Officer Hopper's whole MO now is like, let me save the boy, and whatever happens to me, I won't say a word to anybody about this. Let me just save the boy. Yeah. And they're like,
striking deals.
They're like, okay, you can do that. So they send them both. Both of them go in, right?
Yeah, they both go in because he was only supposed to go in, but you know, she played the crazy. You know, this is my boy. I'm going in with you. Blah, blah, blah.
So they go into the Upside Down, and Nancy and Jonathan have set traps up in Joyce's house.
Yes,
for the Demogorgon.
Now they're going to bait them themselves,
right?
Bear traps and whatnot.
And they had guns and all they were going to fuck this thing up. And they cut their hands open to like make a lot of blood.
Yeah, because they figured out at this point because
they had
of the
guns,
deer and of Barb that this thing is attracted to blood. It's a predator.
And he's hammering nails through a Louisville Slugger to make a fucking mean ass looking bat. And about this time when they're about to cut their hand open, Steve, her old crush,
to make amends because they had a spat before where because of the bedroom incident, called her a slut, and they had a little fight and a tiff, and then
so just young love. And so he comes over, he's like, is Jonathan abusing you? And Nancy's like, get the fuck out of here. And then she holds up a gun like, get out of here, pretty much. And Jonathan or Steve ends up kind of helping him.
Yes.
I don't know why or what. Oh, because the fucking Demogorgon is about to get him.
Yeah, he kind of timing issue.
Yeah, there's a timing problem. And they cut their hands open, they're bleeding. And so they actually catch... He steps in the bear trap, the Demogorgon, right?
Yes.
And they fucking light him up with fire. Like they set him on fire or something, right? And at the same time, Officer Hopper and Joyce are in the second dimension looking for Will. And they kind of come across the dying Demogorgon that's in the real world. They come across them in the other world, and they're like, we're in the house, and they're communicating with Nancy and Jonathan.
Yes.
Officer Hopper and Joyce are kind of communicating, so they're both in the same house, but in the two different dimensions. So you're kind of seeing how that thing is working. And that's where the Demogorgon was killed or injured or wounded.
It was injured at this point.
Yeah, that's true. And then they're looking for Will still in this one. And they pretty much...
Are we in episode 8?
Yeah, we're in the final one. So they find Will.
Yes.
And then 11's captured.
So they're in the... So
School
11 and the boys are in the school.
Yeah.
They're running through the school. So at this point, we think that the Demogorgon is... I don't know. I thought he was dead.
I thought it was at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's catching fire and disappears.
Yeah.
So then you have the... She's trying to do a deprivation tank, to
close the gate. Yeah.
The government comes and we have a chase scene and they're kind of caught.
They're caught in a hallway.
Yeah.
And they're like, they run the hallway and there's 6 people there and they turn around. There's people running up behind them. The classic.
There's a whole little thing. And then
11 fucks them up.
11 fucks them up and there's some blood, remember? And then the light starts flickering and the Demogorgon
That's
comes.
Right. There's a lot of blood, actually.
Yeah. The Demogorgon comes out there. They're trying to shoot Demogorgon and the kids are running.
By they certainly means the government officials, because they have assault rifles and all these automatic weapons. They're trying to light this fool up with bullets,
and to no avail.
Right.
So remember the kids go into the classroom.
Yeah.
Then the Demogorgon comes in to the room, and now they're trapped.
Yes. Now the Demogorgon.
Remember, this is where right before all this craziness.
Yeah.
Mike had asked 11 to the snowball.
Oh, right.
Gave her a little kiss, and it was like...
We glossed over that part.
Now there's just a little love in the air.
So Mike, kind of admitted that he did kind of have a crush on 11. Did he kiss her? He kissed her as well.
Yeah.
And then, so the Demogorgon is there in the classroom.
Yes.
And it's going to get...
It's going
to get
a snack.
And basically 11 and the Demogorgon ended up killing everybody except the kids. Even Poppy died and all these other badass people.
11 had used her brain power to slam it against the wall and kind of said, goodbye.
Right.
And then they vaporized both.
Right. So 11 used seemingly all the rest of her powers to destroy the Demogorgon, close the gate, but also killed herself. Now it kind of ended. Now everyone in the CIA thing died. The Poppy's dead and everything. Will had been found, so they're showing newspapers with local boy comes back from the dead, type of stuff. Because this whole town the whole time is still under the impression that he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Officer Hopper kind of is good to a word, doesn't say anything about it. And then they alluded to a second season a little bit by, I forgot what the fucking Easter egg was.
The boy, Will, that was brought back.
Right.
Remember, they were having Thanksgiving or Christmas. Or
something. That's right. Yeah.
He went to the bathroom and he coughed, and one of the worms that was in the upside down came out of his nose or something like that.
Yeah. You feeling okay? And he coughed, and it was this nasty thing, and you're like, holy fuck, he's been...
And he has a flash of he was in the upside down, and then he came back to reality. Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, right. He was in the bathroom, and he closed his eyes, and it turned into the upside down, and he opened his eyes and was back again, and you're like, holy fuck, poor bastard.
Yeah.
Now, did they alluded a little bit that 11 actually maybe...
Yes, because at the very end, I think the very last thing was the Officer Hopper went out to the forest and left Eggo Waffles.
Eggo Waffles, that's right.
In the wood, whatever it was, some kind of wood.
And that was pretty much the end.
That was it. It left us with another cock tease.
Yeah, full rod. So season 2 of Stranger Things was already announced.
Was.
and that starts in 2017.
What a year.
I'm excited. I mean, I have been recommending this show to everybody that I know.
He was. Hey, have you watched Stranger Things? I said, no. You got to watch it.
Yeah.
You got to watch it. You got to watch it.
Well, if you don't like sci-fi or whatever, like, you will like this. It's cool.
Sci-fi, it's mystery.
Suspense.
I did.
A lot of nostalgia, too.
Yes.
So
if you know anything about the 80s, you'd love it.
You're gonna enjoy it, just as Chip and Cern did.
Yes.
So that was our Stranger Things review. If you have another series, Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Go, whatever, that you would like us to review, shoot us an email.
chipandcernshow@gmail.com.
Or you can tweet us, Facebook, or any other handwritten. Oh, you wouldn't know where to send a handwritten letter. But yeah, Chip and Cern across the internet.
Reviews on iTunes.
Please.
Reviews on Facebook. Just give us something on Facebook if you want.
We were getting some feedback today on Twitter.
Yes,
about one of our things. I thought that was pretty cool about one of our older episodes. The Reply All Office episode, we got some feedback there, which was pretty funny. And Cerny is wearing and I happen to be wearing one too.
We're twinsies.
Very nice baseball hats, Chip and Cern Show hats, T-shirts, and stickers. Those are at chipandcernshow.com/shop. And yeah, just shoot us a message on any of the social media things that we mentioned before, and we'll work something out. We'll hook you up, send you some stickers, or send you a free shirt
We're nice
or whatever.
Guys. We won't bite your head off.
So, and we're getting lots of good compliments. A lot of people are wearing them around, and I mean, they're pretty good quality hats. I wear mine on running, working out in the yard, all sorts of stuff, and it stays clean. There's no sweat stains going up the side or anything.
No, I do
and they
like
look
that.
sharp. Well, you look very sharp, sir.
As do you.
Well, that was Stranger Things, and we were Chip and Cern.
Follow the Chip and Cern Show at chipandcernshow.com, Facebook and Twitter.
Listen at Chip and Cern Show, iTunes, Libsyn, SoundCloud, Google Play, and more.
Support the Chip and Cern Show on Patreon and chipandcernshow.com/shop.
Let us know we're doing some feedback. chipandcernshow@gmail.com. But most importantly, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger. chipandcernshow.com.